Join me as we learn together Chumash for Monday, Parshas Tazria-Metzora. This is the Torah reading of Tazria and Metzora when read combined. The second Torah reading begins on chapter 13, on verse 24. Yesterday we read about different levels of impurity, the first one pertaining to a woman when she gives birth. Then the Torah went on to tell us about the laws of impurity that are caused by different diseases, skin diseases, that we call tsaras. Those skin diseases can happen in a variety of ways, and when they would be considered impure, that the individual would have to then go outside the camp, as will be discussed in the Torah reading of Metzora. Today we continue with the tsaras that develops out of a burn. While yesterday's we spoke about one that develops out of an infection that was there with the warm skin underneath. Over here we'll talk about one that develops out of a burn. Verse 24. Oy basar ki yeh ba'irei. Or if there's a flesh, this type of tsaras, if there's a burn on the skin, or if there's a flesh that will be on the skin, michvas eish, a burn from a fire, v'hoisa michyas michva, and the healed area of the burn, baheres levana, is a snow white spot, adam dames, or is either with white and with red streaks, if it has white or red streaks going through it. So Rashi explains what this means. What are we referring to about this area of the burn? Over here he says as follows, Rashi, Michyas HaMichvah. The word Michyas comes from the word that it's starting to become chai, that it's starting to be healed. Shnin min milaz. In the word in Old French, it's the word shinment. When this burn is now starting to get better, and it's starting to heal, this actual burn is starting to turn into snow white color, which is mixed with some red streaks, or completely white with some white streaks in it, which is no other color mixed in it. V'simane michva, how do I know a disease which is called a burn? V'simane shchin, and the disease of that we mentioned previously, which was like a lesion which was there because of an infection. Shavim heim, they're very similar when it comes to the laws of impurity. So why then does the Torah make it in two separate laws? Loimar, to tell us. So let's say if a person has an infection and he had a burn, or one caused from the other, which is very possible. A half of a size of, let's say, of the one and a half the size of the other will not combine with the two. So for example, if there was a half of a gris, which is the measure of a lesion, which was in one of the infected part, which develops in a burn, and another one which would develop in an inflammation. So chatzi gris b'shchin v'chatzi gris b'michveh, half a gris in the inflammation, and half a gris in the burn. Lo yidoinu, they're not considered that I would complete as one infection or one disease that would make the person and qualify them to be impure. Next verse, verse 25. Verse 25, the Kohen will then examine it. And over here, now the dark hairs that were originally dark now turn snow white as well. Or and also the other spot is turned white and the appearance is deeper than the skin. Tsarasi, this is considered tsaras. Bamichva paracha, it's spread in the burn. The Kohen will then make him impure. Negat tsarasi, this will be qualified as a tsaras lesion. Verse 26, and if the Kohen examines it, and in the snow white spot there is no white hair, and it's not deeper than his flesh, and it even got darkened, and then Shivas Yamim, and the Kohen will then quarantine this individual for 7 days. Verse 27, then the Kohen will come back on the seventh day. If it spread, in the skin, then the Kohen will make him impure. Negat tzarasi, this determines that this is actually a tzaras lesion, and therefore he becomes impure. Verse 28, But if instead, if the snow white spot remained the same, now the actual snow white spot stayed, it didn't grow, it did not spread, but it got darkened. The area of that, the scar tissue of the burn, it's considered scar tissue of a burn. And the Kohen will then purify him, tell him that he's clean and he's not considered impure, because all this is scar tissue of a burn. Verse 29. Now we go to another case of tzaras, which one that develops on a person's head. V'ish oy isha, a man or a woman, if they will have a lesion on their head. Now on the head, which is normally the hairy part of their head. Oy bezakan, or on their beard, where their beard usually grows. Rashi, bereish oy bezakan, in the head or in their beard. Ba'a kasuv, the Torah over here comes to tell us the chalik benegesh b'makim seir lenegesh b'makim basar. Why over here we learned about all the different types of lesions, and the Torah over here is telling us that there's a difference between lesions that come in a place where hair grows and a place where hair does not grow. Lenegesh b'makim basar shezeh simani b'seir lavan v'zeh simani b'seir tzayv. When a place where a lesion comes in a place of flesh, over there, the tzaras, the lesion means that it becomes white hair. And however, one that where there's here, a lesion there, it becomes yellow here, gold here. And therefore, when it comes to tell us about the beard and the hair of the head, it's going to be different how the individual will become impure. Verse 30. The Kohen will then must examine the lesion. And he sees that its appearance is deeper than the skin. The uboy seir tzahif, and the at least two hairs inside that are thin, but they are pale gold. Dak, thin hairs that are very pale gold. V'time yoisei hakohen, the Kohen will then make him impure. Neseku, this is considered a netek, which is the name of this kind of tzaras. Tzaras haroish, it's a lesion of, this is tzaras of the head, ayazakanhu of the beard. Rashi, as Rashi goes to explain what this means, uboy seir tzoif, nepach seir shachar tzabei. The white hair, the black hair that he had previously, became now like a light gold. But if the person's beard was always like a red-haired beard, light gold beard, then it's not considered impure. Neseku, what is the word nesek? The name of a tzaras, which is where there is here, is called a nesek. Verse 31. Now in the priest, when the Kohen will examine this nesek lesion, and its appearance is not deeper than the actual skin. But he still does not see any black hair. And therefore the Kohen will quarantine this nesek lesion for 7 days. Rashi, and there is no black hair in it. What do I know from here? If there was to be black hair there, Torah would be pure. He would now have to be quarantined. Because when it comes to black hair is considered a purifying sign, a sign that this individual is not impure, and therefore he would be considered free to go. As it says, later on in verse 37, he tells us about what would be a sign that this person is clean, that the black hair has now come there. Verse 32, and then the Kohen will then examine the lesion by Yemashvi on the 7th day, and he sees that the nesek hasn't spread. And there is no gold here there. And the view and the vision and the see and the way the nesek looks, it is not deeper than the skin. Then, verse 33, V'yizgaloch es hanesek. Then the person must shave himself in the area of where the nesek is. Ves hanesek lo yigaleach. However, the actual nesek itself, he must not shave. So where he shaves is in the vicinity of the nesek, but he's not allowed to shave the actual nesek itself, which means the adjacent area to the nesek, as we're soon going to see as Rashi explains what area that is. And then the Kohen will then quarantine this nesek, this tzaras lesion, again for another 7 days. Rashi, v'yizgalach, where is he going to shave? Saviv hanesek, around the area of the nesek. Svives hanesek, but not the actual thing itself. He doesn't have to shave his entire hair or his entire beard. V'sanesek lo yigaleach, and the actual nesek he doesn't shave. So the question is, how is that possible? If you're saying that he has to shave around it, how does he not shave it itself? So what is it telling us? That if he has to leave at least 2 hairs around the actual nesek, so it should be noticeable what's the actual space and if it spreads or if it doesn't spread. Impasa, if it does spread, because if it does spread, because then you'll see if it spreads, it will go to the place where he already shaved, and then you'll know if the person becomes impure or not. So therefore you have to notice where that area is. But if he's also going to shave the place that's right next to the nesek, you'll never know if it's spread or not. So therefore, you have to leave a 2 hair space around it to know if it's spread or not. Verse 34, the Kohen will then come and examine the nesek on the 7th day. And it will see that it did not spread in its skin. And it doesn't look deeper than the actual flesh. The Kohen will then say that he is pure. The chibes begadav, and then immerses in the mikveh and washes his clothes. The tahir, and he becomes pure. Verse 35. What happens if this nesek continues to spread? And meaning it spreads on his skin after he's already been declared that he's rid achrei atarasei, after he's been declared that he's impure, that he's pure, that he's no longer impure. So therefore, what happens if it continues to spread? Rashi, achrei tarasei. I only know to tell me that if he was actually impure, that it spreads. What happens if after the Kohen tells him, you're free to go home, you are clean, and now it spreads, minayin, that even now he'll also be considered pure, af b'seif shavua rishon b'seif shavua sheni, Talmud leimer pasa yifsa. That even at the end of the first week, or even at the end of the second week of quarantine, how do I know that he continues to be impure? Therefore, the Torah tells us, Pasa Yifsa, that if it should spread, meaning even if it spreads after the first time he's quarantined, or even after the second time he was quarantined, still in all he becomes considered impure, and then he has to go according to all the laws of what happens to a person, which is tzaras. Verse 36. Then the Kohen will examine him, and he sees that the nesek is actually spread better in his flesh. The Kohen does not even have to look or check to see about the gold here. He does not have to search for any gold here, and he is automatically tamei, who is considered impure. Verse 37, what happens if the appearance and the color of the nesek remain the same? The seir shachar tzamach bay, and not only that, black hair started growing there. Near pa nesek, that tells you that the nesek has been healed. Toiru, he is absolutely clean. The tiare Kohen, and the Kohen will now tell him that pronounce that he is rid of any type of impurity. Rashi, verse 37, the seir shachar, black hair. Minayin, that means only if black hair comes there, then this person becomes pure. Minayin sha'af hayarik va'odem she'einei tzav. How do we know that? I know that even green or red hair, which is not gold, will also make that this is pure. Talmud loymar v'sehar. That's why the Torah says here and does not say what color here. Ulema tzahuv doime. What is this color that the Torah calls tzahuv, gold? In Hebrew, usually tzov is yellow. But what's this compared to this color? So Rashi tells us, that's how we're calling it gold until now. We haven't called it yellow, is because Rashi tells us that tzohuv is latafnis hazav, is very similar to the vision of what gold looks like. Tzov, because the word tzohuv is the tzaddik and the zayin are very interchangeable, and therefore tzov comes from the word zohov, gold. As we see in other places, tzaddik and zayin a lot of times interchange with one another. Toiru, he is clean. V'tira kohen, and the kohen will then announce that he's clean. Ha tamei. From here we know that if he is tamei, shetira kohen loy toir bekach. Even that means, from here we know that if he is tamei, and the kohen says, "Oh, you're tar," even though, and Torah says you're poor, even though you have the signs of impurity, you do not become pure. You are not pure because of that, and it goes by the signs of impurity that the individual may have. Verse 38. The isha, a man or a woman, kiya be'ir b'sarim, they will have in their flesh, in the skin of their flesh, baharis levanis. They have spots that are these white spots in their skin, multiple white spots. Rashi, baharis chabarbures, spots. Verse 39, V'ra kohen, and the kohen will then examine it. V'hine be'ir b'sarim, and he sees in the skin of their flesh, baharis keyes levanis. There are these dark white spots on the skin of their flesh. Boihaku, then this tzaras is what we would call bohak. Porach bo'ir, it is a type of pigmentation. Boyak means it is nothing more than a lack of pigmentation that erupted in their skin. Porach, that porach bo'ir erupted in the skin, and toiru, and therefore they are not defiled. So over here we have a different case where a person has multiple different spots. These different spots will then make that they are not considered impure. Let's see Rashi as explains what's going on here. Verse 39, it's not a strong white. Elakea, it's a soft white. Boyhak, what does the word boyhak mean? So the word boyak means it's the type of white that one would see in a pigmentation of white that you see in the flesh of a person who has very red skin. Shekoirin rusho, which is a person who's a red. He has red, by nature he has red skin. Whether if the person has these red spots, karu boyak, it's also called boyak, which means these spots. Like a leopard individual. Between each one of the leopard different colors, you see that the white is not that white, and you have this shadow of white, so to speak, and therefore it's not as strong as a regular white skin, but it's more of a tan type of skin, and this is what he's referring to as the word boyhak means. Verse 40. This concludes today's Torah reading of Monday for Parshas Tazria and Metzora combined.